Thank you for joining us. Tonight we're talking about a potentially lethal drug that can be purchased at gas stations, smoke shops, and online. Some call it hippie crack, teens call it whippets or buzz bombs. Chefs use it to create foams and whipped creams, while doctors and dentists use it as an anesthetic. I'm talking about nitrous oxide. You may have even had it at the dentist office. But tonight we're talking about a shocking truth about the legal $36 high that seems to be trending on social media and sweeping across the nation. How your children are influenced, why it's way more dangerous than people think, and what everyone needs to know. Now, Rachel began using nitrous oxide at parties when she was 23 years old, and it wasn't long before she was inhaling up to 6 tanks of nitrous oxide a day. And Rachel, frankly, you feel like you're lucky to be here tonight. Would that be a fair statement?
Yeah, that's a really fair statement. That's even an understatement.
I really appreciate your willingness to talk about this because I think it can save a lot of people some serious suffering and perhaps some lives. You said
Yeah.
you first tried this at a party when you were 23. Did you have any idea how dangerous it was when you first tried it?
Yeah, like it was explained to me that it like kills brain cells and, obviously doing anything like that was out of character for me. But yeah, at first I just kind of thought it was dumb. It's really short. Yeah, it wasn't something that was super common. I was bartending. Yeah, and around that area, a lot of people were using them. EDM music scene, kind of. So
Let's go back to somebody telling you this will kill brain cells. Whenever you drink alcohol, everybody's always said, this will kill brain cells when you drink alcohol, right? So
yeah,
this wasn't like a dramatic statement when you first heard it, like this will kill some brain cells, but so does alcohol. So what did you say to yourself
right.
about it the first time to give yourself permission to do it?
How could something that lasts such a short time be that harmful? And it's something that they use at the dentist's office.
Yeah, okay. I'm so glad you said that because I've heard that from people that have done this the way you did to begin with when they say, hey, they give this to you at the dentist office, so they're not in there killing your brain, so how could it be doing this to me now? So
And
was that part of your
yeah,
reasoning?
and why would they be selling it at stores if it's harmful? I mean, obviously with alcohol, but you're accepting, as an adult that, okay, I'm deciding to do this. It might not be the best thing for me, but there's no way that it's like the upper scale drug or something that I could get heavily addicted to.
All right, so what was your reaction to it? How did it affect you the first time you used it?
It made my head buzz. Yeah, at that point in my life, alcohol had a pretty strong hold on me. And yeah, I didn't think much of it. If it was around and somebody purchased it and I was around it, sure. But I was never something I was going to buy on my own.
Okay, but now you said you had some issues with alcohol, but you had stopped drinking in January of 22, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, and
So,
was that hard?
yeah, I was up to about a bottle of Tito's a day. So, and I quit cold turkey. I wasn't aware that, there was dangers to that. And that was really difficult lifestyle changes. Yeah, coming out of kind of the mess I made. And for the first 6 or so months, I was really, really good. I struggled with a lot of mental health that I ended up getting diagnosed with. And then, yeah, I didn't really ever seek treatment for addiction or go to any groups or anything like that.
Hmm.
And so I found that I was kind of transferring addictions with different substances.
Okay, and this is when you started to experiment with nitrous, right?
Yeah, yeah. I
And
had,
you did some ecstasy?
yeah, I mean, I don't know how much I'm allowed to say, but I have done a few different drugs. Yes.
Okay. But it was nitrous that got a real strong hold on you, correct?
Yeah, which was bizarre. Like, to me, it was bizarre because it's such a short-lived, I mean, they're expensive. Like, it was an addiction unlike anything else I had had before. Like, the almost immediate need to go get another one when you're finished is, like, something I can't explain. And as an alcoholic, I'm, very used to the constant thought of wanting something, wanting it now, always wanting it. But
Mm.
this was different.
And you said that you had had some mental health struggles. Were you diagnosed with a particular disorder? And if so,
Yep.
what?
So I'm diagnosed bipolar,
Mhm.
borderline personality disorder. I have CPTSD, ADHD, and generalized anxiety disorder.
Okay. And did this have a calming effect on you when you used it?
Yes, yes. And I obviously, being an alcoholic, benzodiazepines are not a good option for me.
Mhm.
They are not, yeah, they are not. And it's because it fires the same receptors in your GABA receptors that alcohol does. And so you have an even more high chance of getting addicted to it. So, yeah, I had always not liked downers when I was drinking because I was drinking. And then when I stopped drinking at about 6 months, I had kind of I had a manic episode. I took Lexapro, not knowing I was bipolar, and it sent me manic. And at 6 months, everyone was talking about how sobriety is the best they've ever felt. And for me, I was 110 pounds, like going to the hospital every other week, having panic attacks. And so once I got diagnosed, it was a lot to cope with, like a lot. Like, I kind of thought the bipolar diagnosis was the worst thing that could happen. And then when the borderline diagnosis came, I was gutted.
Well, I'm really sorry that you had to deal with all of that. And then you add this onto it, that creates a real problem. And you said this got expensive for you. How much did you wind up doing in a day, and how were you paying for it?
I was bartender at a club and I had worked there when I was younger. So, I mean, everybody knows me. And not to talk myself up, but being an attractive bartender at a club like that, you make a decent amount of money. And so, yeah, I mean, I call myself the best functioning addict until I'm not. I can make anything work if I really want to live that way until I can't. So, yeah, I was spending probably around 180 to $200 when I was using 6 to 8 takes. They're about $40 a piece. I mean, at that point, the workers everywhere knew me and they were giving me deals.
Well, we're going to talk about what happened when you got up to that level, because Rachel says after years of abusing nitrous oxides because it filled her time and made her feel calm, she ended up paying a severe price. And we're going to hear more about that right after the break. Let's talk about what went wrong. Your hands went numb. What all happened when it got really bad? How many of those were you doing in a day?
At the worst, I was up to like maybe 10 of the bigger tanks a day, all the way up to maybe 16 on a bad day. I couldn't do anything without it. You know, I felt like I couldn't function without it, and anytime I was sober, the only thing I was thinking about was going to get another tank.
Poor sleep impacts productivity, focus, and energy, making it difficult to tackle daily tasks effectively. Tossing and turning through the night leaves many feeling drained and unmotivated. Beam's Dream Powder offers a solution. This science-backed healthy nighttime blend is clinically shown to improve sleep, helping users fall asleep faster, stay asleep longer, and wake up refreshed without grogginess. Dream combines powerful, all-natural ingredients like reishi, magnesium, L-theanine, apigenin, and melatonin, creating a blend designed for consistent, restful nights. It has become an essential part of nightly routines for those seeking better sleep. The ultimate sleep refresh for the new year. Try Beam's best-selling Dream Powder and get up to 40% off for a limited time when you go to shopbeam.com/Dr. Phil and use code Dr. Phil at checkout. That's shopbeam.com/Dr. Phil and use code Dr. Phil for up to 40% off. A little over a year ago, Rachel considered herself sober because she didn't think inhaling nitrous oxide was harmful. Now, Rachel, let's talk about this. This is a 640-gram canister, or you call it a tank, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and this cost how much, this size?
$40.
This is $40?
I was living in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Yeah, I've heard they're more expensive in Denver.
Okay, so at the worst, you were using 6 to 8 of these a day?
Yeah, I think my highest number was probably 8.
Okay, and there's a apparatus that goes on the top of this and allows you to inhale it directly, right? Or would you use a balloon, or would you use it directly?
So, depends. I mean, it's a nozzle that screws on. It's a little plastic nozzle. I personally just hit it from the tank. You have to be careful to not angle it at any sort of way, kind of upwards, because it can shoot freezing cold air down your throat, which has happened to me. That's why people use balloons. They also use the balloons because you can blow the air in and back and in and back, basically taking oxygen from your brain more and more. So you're breathing in carbon dioxide and you get higher.
Right. And you say the more you used, the more poisoned you became. You passed out after a while, right? Just completely lost consciousness?
Yeah. Right. Like I would just wake up and they, like, people that I was doing them with would, tell me that I had passed out.
Okay. Now, was there something that triggered you to use this more heavily? I think you said you'd been through a breakup. Were you medicating with this?
Yeah. So what's common with bipolar people is that medication kind of stops working randomly. And with medication changes, I definitely have more of trigger to use. And with relationships and having borderline personality disorder, there's a lot that goes on. So it is kind of, I have tumultuous relationships, unfortunately. But yeah, I was having a lot of issues with just a bunch of stuff. I got bartending at a bar I used to work at. And initially when I got sober from drinking, I was working in a restaurant and I stopped working in bars because I couldn't separate my life. So when I started working at this bar again, I was around similar people and I made the decision to start using it. And everything since I stopped drinking has had a much stronger hold on me because I did not go completely sober. I just stopped drinking.
Right.
So I was still using other things.
Well, let's talk about what went wrong when you had a bad spell from this nitrous. Your hands went numb. What all happened when it got really bad?
Yeah, so I had been like falling and just weird thing. And when I fell, I hit my elbow. My hand was going numb by Easter time. And it felt like it was asleep. And then it started kind of going down my arm and like kind of my leg. And I was dropping things. And it was just really weird. I had bartended a 9-hour shift, was like kind of fine. But people thought I was like, there was people saying to me that they thought I was drunk. The next, I fall asleep. I wrote a paper that night. I fall asleep. I wake up and it feels like my hips are broken. And I like can't go to the bathroom. And I'm like, what? So I freak out. I call 911. They take me to the hospital. And at first they just thought it was muscle spasms. I didn't tell them about nitrous because I had no idea that like that could be causing whatever was going on. And so they sent me home they sent me to go get medication from the pharmacy. And it was like for muscle spasms and something else. At that point, was wearing sandals. When I got out of my Uber, my shoe had fallen off and I had not felt it. I get these medication. I go to a smoke shop next to my pharmacy, grab another tank, hitting it. I have a friend reach out to me and says, please look up the case study of nitrous poisoning. I go look it up. I'm sitting in bed. I like instantly started bawling. I'm like, oh my God. And it's saying people are paralyzed. They can't, I'm like, he's like, I'll take you to the ER tomorrow morning. By the time I got to the ER, I had to go, they were walking out with a wheelchair because I lost so much function of my ability to walk that like I was falling over. I told them that like I have nitrous poisoning, you need to run my blood. Within 30 minutes of them doing that, I had about 7 people from neuro in my room and I was admitted.
You say nitrous poisoning. Let's take a look at the nitrous oxide misuse health risk, because I want people to know, because you were a classic case of this. There's short term, there's oxygen displacement that can cause asphyxiation. Your brain's not getting oxygen, which can result in brain damage or death short term. There's loss of blood pressure, which can cause fainting and heart attack. And then long term, you've got a vitamin B deficiency, and you can have irreversible neuropathy and paralysis. A psychological addiction can obtain, depression, anxiety. You can have neurological blood-related complications, frostbite, which results in tissue damages, which is why you mentioned people use balloons sometimes to regulate the pressure. And all of this was coming true with you. And I'm so glad that somebody really brought this to your attention.